Hey everyone, ready to unlock some fluent English?
Always exciting to dive into language learning.
Yeah. It seems like everyone's always looking for that fast track to fluency.
Who wouldn't want to learn quickly?
Exactly. Like, maybe they've got a big presentation coming up.
Sure, or a trip they're dreaming of?
Totally. Or just, they want to expand their horizons.
Absolutely. So, what's on the agenda today?
Well, we've got this guide claiming to get you chatting in English comfortably.
Comfortably.
Yeah, comfortably in just 1 week.
1 week. That's a pretty bold claim.
Right. We'll see about that.
We'll see.
But it does have some interesting tips.
Yeah.
Like they suggest switching all your text settings to English.
Whoa, right away.
Yeah, right away. So we're going to dive in
Let's dive in.
and see what this ultimate guide is all about.
Sounds good. It's certainly a bold promise to deliver fluency in such a short time.
It is.
But even if we put the timeline aside, the foundation of this guide really emphasizes the idea of total immersion.
Okay, total immersion. It sounds pretty intense.
It can be, yeah.
What does that actually look like in practice?
Think about learning a new song.
Okay.
The more you hear it,
Yeah,
the more it gets stuck in your head.
totally.
This guide applies that same principle to language. Surround yourself with it constantly.
So like switching your phone and computer settings to English.
Exactly.
Watching movies and shows.
Yeah, without subtitles.
Wow. Really making English a constant part of your life?
Yeah, just make it everywhere.
They recommend like 4 to 5 hours of exposure a day?
It's a lot.
That's a ton. Is that even realistic?
It's definitely a commitment.
It is.
But think about any skill you've developed,
Okay, yeah.
whether it's like playing an instrument, mastering a sport,
Yeah,
learning to code,
yeah,
reaching proficiency in anything
right.
requires dedicated practice,
Yeah.
and language is no different.
Okay, so this guide is advocating for a pretty consistent habit of engaging with English.
It is, yeah.
So it's not just passively listening to podcasts in the background.
Got to be active.
They emphasize active speaking.
Yes, they do.
They even suggest talking to yourself in the mirror.
The mirror technique
Yeah.
might feel a little awkward
It does sound a little awkward.
at first,
Yeah.
but think about it. It's like a safe space
That's true.
to practice forming sentences out loud
Okay, yeah.
and hearing how you sound.
You get used to it.
Exactly, and it goes beyond just pronunciation.
What else?
You start to internalize the rhythm and flow of the language.
That makes sense. I remember trying that when I was learning Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, it helped me overcome some of that initial shyness of speaking in a new language.
I bet.
Yeah.
It's all about getting comfortable with the sounds and the feeling of speaking. Now, if you're ready to step it up, they recommend finding a language partner online.
Oh, okay.
There's platforms like italki and Tandem.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, they connect language learners from around the world.
So it's like having a virtual pen pal,
Yeah,
but you can practice speaking with.
exactly.
It's a cool way to get that real-world conversation practice without having to travel.
Without having to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And these conversations lead us to another concept the guide highlights: thinking in English.
Thinking in English.
Yeah. Instead of translating everything in your head,
Got it.
they encourage you to narrate your day-to-day activities out loud in English.
So instead of thinking, I'm going to make coffee,
Right.
you'd actually say it out loud in English.
Yes.
Even though you're by yourself.
Yeah, it might feel strange at first, but it's a powerful way to train your brain to process information directly in English.
Interesting. So you bypass that translation step in your head,
You got it.
which can speed up your fluency.
Exactly.
Well, that's a cool way to make English feel like a more integrated part of your life.
It is, even when you're not actively studying.
Even when you're not in class, yeah.
Right.
The guide also emphasizes mastering common phrases
Oh, yeah. Phrases are so important.
rather than just individual words.
It's really about how we use language naturally.
Totally.
It's less about perfect grammar
Mm-hmm.
and more about having those communication building blocks
Okay.
that help you express yourself more naturally.
Right. I mean, how often do we actually speak in perfectly formed sentences?
Never.
We use a lot of common phrases
All the time.
and expressions like, can
Yeah.
I help you? Or
What time is it?
these are things that you'd use all the time.
Every day, yeah.
So mastering them early on,
Yeah, it makes such a
it
difference.
could really boost your confidence in real-world situations.
Totally.
So we've got total immersion,
Mm-hmm.
speaking practice,
Yes.
thinking in English.
Keep it going.
Sounds like a pretty good foundation.
It's a great start.
What else does this guide recommend?
Well, they also suggest you dive into authentic content.
Authentic content.
Yeah. Things like TED Talks
Okay.
or news channels
Right.
One's known for clear pronunciation, the BBC or CNN.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of those. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
They introduce a technique called shadowing.
Ah, yes, shadowing.
What is that?
So it involves closely listening to a native speaker
Hmm.
and trying to mimic their pronunciation,
Okay.
their intonation, even their rhythm.
So, like, you're their shadow.
You are their
You're
shadow.
trying to replicate their speech patterns as closely as possible.
Exactly.
So it's not just about understanding the words.
No,
It's about capturing that natural flow and musicality of English.
it's all connected. I can see how that would help develop a more authentic accent
Yeah.
and make you sound more like a native speaker.
Exactly. They suggest picking one video per day and shadowing along.
That's a good way to do it, yeah.
It seems like a focused way to train both your ear and your vocal muscles to get comfortable producing the sounds of English.
You got it. It's all about that consistent practice.
I like that it gives you like a concrete action to take each day.
Yeah, it's manageable.
Okay, shifting gears a bit.
Yeah.
They also mention using flashcards
Oh, yeah.
for learning vocabulary.
Very useful.
Are they talking about the old school paper kind of?
Oh.
Or is there like something more high tech?
They actually suggest using apps
Apps.
like Anki or Quizlet.
Oh, I've seen those around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really familiar with how they work. Is there something special about them
Yeah.
compared to just writing words on index cards?
These apps, they use a learning technique called spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition.
Yes, which is all about reviewing information at increasing intervals.
So it helps move those new words and phrases into your long-term memory.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not about cramming a bunch of words all at once,
Right.
but reviewing them strategically over time
Sorry.
to really make them stick.
Mm-hmm.
Does the guide say why spaced repetition works so well?
It has to do with how our brains form memories.
Okay.
By spacing out those reviews,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
basically reminding your brain that this information is important.
So each time you revisit a word or phrase, the memory becomes stronger.
Exactly. Like you're hitting the refresh button.
Makes sense. So these apps take the guesswork out of spaced repetition
They do.
by scheduling your reviews for you
Exactly. They make it much easier to stay consistent.
and avoid feeling overwhelmed.
Totally overwhelmed.
Okay, so we've got immersion,
Mm.
speaking practice,
Yeah.
thinking in English,
Keep thinking.
mastering phrases,
So important.
shadowing,
Your shadow.
and spaced repetition with flashcards.
Flashcard fun.
That's a lot to take in, but it seems like a really well-rounded approach.
It's a good foundation.
Anything else we should know before we start putting all this into practice?
Well, there's one more thing,
Uh,
and it might be the most important element of all.
ooh, okay.
Well, we'll delve into that,
Oh, right.
along with some final thoughts
Okay.
and a challenge for you.
A challenge.
A challenge. After a quick break, stay tuned.
All right. We're back and ready to uncover this most important element you mentioned. I have a feeling it's tied into the guide's claim of fluency in just 1 week.
You're exactly right. We've looked at a lot of great techniques.
We have.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
Achieving complete native-like fluency in just 7 days
It's a stretch.
is highly unlikely.
It is for most people. Okay, so maybe fluent needs a bit more explanation. What does it actually mean to be fluent in a language?
That's the big question, isn't
That
it?
is.
It's not just about knowing tons of vocabulary
Right?
or having perfect grammar.
Mm-hmm.
True fluency is about communicating effectively,
Hmm.
naturally, in all sorts of situations.
Okay.
It's understanding those subtle nuances,
Yeah.
cultural references, even humor.
Right. So is this whole 1 week fluency thing from the guide just a marketing gimmick?
Not necessarily. It
Yeah.
depends on how we define fluency,
Okay.
because mastering a language completely,
Yeah.
that takes real time
Mm-hmm.
and dedication. But focusing on functional fluency early on can make a big difference.
Functional fluency. Okay, what does that look like?
Think of it as having enough of the language to handle everyday situations.
Okay.
Being able to order food,
Yeah.
the important things.
Ask for directions.
Right.
Have basic conversations.
Okay.
Essentially, you can navigate daily life in English with confidence.
So maybe you're not giving like Shakespearean soliloquies after a week,
Maybe not.
but you can order a coffee
Exactly.
or chat with someone you meet at the park.
Yeah. That's more realistic.
Much more realistic and honestly still a huge accomplishment.
It is a big step. And that sense of accomplishment can be incredibly motivating.
It can.
It helps build momentum, keeps you moving forward on your language learning journey.
This reminds me of those language learning plateaus
Oh, yeah.
where people hit a wall and feel like they're not progressing anymore.
It's very common. Do you think focusing on functional fluency could help people break through those plateaus faster?
I think it could. I think so too.
Mm.
Because people often get discouraged at that stage because they're focused on perfection.
Yeah, they want to get it perfect.
But if you shift your attention to using what you've learned, even if it's imperfect,
Yeah.
it could really reignite that motivation.
Because you're actually using it
Exactly.
in real life.
Yes. It's like the difference between studying a map
Okay.
and actually exploring a city.
Oh, I like that.
You can learn all the street names, all the landmarks,
Right.
but it's not the same as actually experiencing the city firsthand.
You can read about it, but
But-
until you get out there,
Exactly.
it's different.
You can study grammar rules.
Yeah.
You can memorize vocab lists, but real fluency develops when you're out there interacting,
Using it.
using it
Yeah.
in a living, breathing way.
I bet those real-world interactions
Oh, yeah.
help solidify all those grammar rules and vocabulary much better
Way better.
than just studying them.
It's about making those connections between theory and practice, making the language come alive.
I like that. So while complete fluency may be a longer-term goal,
It is a journey.
achieving functional fluency in a week,
That's possible.
it's a more reasonable target.
I think so.
But it still takes effort, right?
It does.
What kind of commitment are we talking about here?
Well, remember the guide suggested 4 to 5 hours of daily exposure
A lot.
is a lot. That level of dedication is key,
Okay.
especially if you're aiming for real progress in a short time.
Yeah, a week is short. So it's about making English a consistent part of your life, even outside of those study sessions.
More than just cracking open a textbook.
Yeah, more than that.
It's about creating an immersive environment
Okay.
where you're encountering the language constantly in different ways.
Right.
Listening to music, podcasts,
Yeah.
watching movies, even just changing the language settings on your phone,
Oh, right. Like we were talking about. It's
Yeah.
making English a natural part of your routine.
weaving it in. And of course, actively practicing speaking,
Yeah, that's key.
whether it's the mirror technique, shadowing, or finding a language partner.
It all takes effort.
It does. Language learning, like any skill,
Yeah.
requires consistent practice,
It does. It's about putting in the time
putting in the work.
to make those neural connections in your brain.
Exactly.
So no magic shortcuts.
I wish.
It's about that focused, dedicated approach. But it's not just about the hours you put in, is it? What about the mental and emotional side of language learning?
That is so important. And the guide touches on the importance of confidence,
It does.
but it's worth digging a little deeper there.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
You could have the best techniques in the world,
You could.
but if you're scared to make mistakes,
It's going to hold you back.
it will. It's like that feeling of being back in school, presenting in front of the class.
Oh, yeah. I remember those days.
With everyone staring at you.
It's nerve-wracking. I think that fear of messing up,
Mm.
it's something so many language learners struggle with.
I think so too.
It's totally natural.
It is.
But here's the thing. Everyone makes mistakes when they're learning something new.
Everyone.
It's part of the process.
Yeah.
Think about a baby learning to walk.
Okay, yeah.
They stumble.
They fall down.
They fall down.
Yeah.
But they get back up and keep trying.
They do. It's true. Language learning is no different.
It's the same.
So how can we reframe that fear and, develop the confidence to speak, even if it's messy at first?
It's about changing our perspective. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures,
Okay.
we can see them as feedback.
Feedback.
Yeah. Opportunities to learn and improve.
I like that.
Remember, even the most fluent speakers,
Yeah.
they weren't born that way.
Right.
They made tons of mistakes along the way.
It's like those epic fail compilations you see online.
Oh, yeah.
They're hilarious.
They are funny.
But they also show that even professionals mess up sometimes.
They do. It's part of being human.
Totally.
Yeah.
Embracing those imperfections. Those oops moments.
Embrace the oops.
It can actually help us learn faster.
I think so.
So it's not about being perfect from day one. It's
Mhm.
about giving yourself permission to experiment,
Yes.
to try things out,
Try it out.
and learn from those stumbles.
Exactly. Remember, the goal with language learning is communication.
Yeah.
It's connecting with others,
Right.
sharing ideas,
Mm-hmm.
experiencing the world in a new way.
Yeah.
It's not about being grammatically perfect.
It's not.
It's about expressing yourself
Yeah.
and engaging with the world around you.
That's a really cool way to think about it.
I think so too. And that brings us back to that missing piece we talked about earlier.
Which was
Motivation.
motivation. Yeah.
Yes, you could have all the tools,
Mm-hmm.
all the techniques,
Yeah.
but without a strong why,
you're not going to get very far.
It's easy to lose steam. Now, the guide doesn't really talk about motivation, does it?
It doesn't.
It
But-
focuses more on the practical
Yeah.
stuff.
It does. So let's talk about the why. Why are you so passionate about languages?
For me, it's about connection.
Connection.
Yeah, like building bridges between cultures,
I like that.
understanding different perspectives,
Yeah.
expanding my own worldview,
Okay.
being able to talk to someone in their native language.
Yeah.
It's a gift. It creates a sense of intimacy and understanding.
It really does. It goes beyond words. I love that. It's not just about learning words.
It's not.
It's about learning about people,
It is.
their stories, their
Yeah.
cultures.
Exactly.
It's about opening yourself up to new experiences.
Yes. Connecting with humanity on a deeper level. And that sense of connection,
Mhm.
it can be so motivating.
Yeah, I bet. When you're passionate about something, it fuels your desire to learn. So if someone's listening to this, feeling inspired,
Okay.
but maybe a bit lost on where to start,
Totally normal.
what advice would you give them?
I would say start with your why.
Your why, okay.
Why is learning English important to you?
Yeah.
What are your goals?
Mm-hmm.
Your aspirations?
Mm-hmm.
Is it for travel, for
Mhm.
work, personal growth? Once you have that clear sense of purpose,
Yeah.
it's so much easier to stay motivated,
Even when it gets tough.
especially when it gets tough.
That's great advice. Find your why.
Find your why.
And then let that drive you as you start putting all these tips and techniques into practice.
You make it happen. And remember, it's a journey,
Yeah.
not a race.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace the process.
Yeah.
Celebrate the small wins.
Those are important.
They are.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to make those mistakes.
Because those mistakes,
It is valuable.
they're opportunities to learn.
Exactly.
This guide might overpromise on the whole fluency in 1 week idea,
It might.
but it highlights some really valuable principles for language learning,
It does.
like creating an immersive environment,
Mm.
practicing consistently,
Consistency.
setting realistic goals,
So important.
and approaching the whole journey with confidence and a positive attitude.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Couldn't have put it better myself. But before we wrap up,
Oh,
I know you have one final thought,
I do.
a challenge for our listeners.
Challenge. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Lay it on us.
So thinking back to that idea of total immersion,
Okay.
what is one small change you can make in your routine today to increase your exposure to English?
Give us that final nudge to kickstart our English learning adventures.
I will. It could be something as simple as switching your phone's language settings to English.
I like that. I bet you'd be surprised how many words and phrases you pick up just from navigating your phone in English.
You pick up so much. Or maybe it's watching a short video clip without subtitles,
Okay.
listening to an English podcast during your commute, or even just reading a news article online.
Those are all great ideas.
Hmm.
Little things that you can easily fit into your day.
Exactly.
But that can make a big difference over time.
That's what it's all about, small, consistent actions.
Right.
It's not about those drastic changes.
Yeah.
It's about weaving English into your daily life. Yeah, just making it a natural part of your world.
Exactly. And the cool thing about this total immersion approach,
What's that?
it's not just about memorizing rules and lists.
It's not.
It's about absorbing the language organically, almost like osmosis.
You start to develop a feel for the language,
You do.
an intuition for how it works.
Exactly. And that intuition,
Yeah.
that's what helps you unlock true fluency. Being able to communicate naturally,
Effortlessly.
effortlessly, without overthinking it.
So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to start their English learning adventure,
I hope so.
remember,
Remember.
find your why.
Yes.
Embrace those small daily actions.
Every day.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Because those mistakes just prove that you are learning and growing.
They do.
Who knows? Maybe in a week you'll surprise yourself with how much progress you've made.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. Thanks for sharing your expertise and giving us all this to think about.
It's been my pleasure.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep practicing, and keep those English conversations flowing.
And to all our listeners out there, happy learning.
It could be something as simple as switching your phone's language settings to English.
Oh, yeah. I like that. It's easy.
Super easy.
And I bet you'd be surprised how many words and phrases you pick up just by navigating your phone in English.
You really do.
Oh.
Or maybe it's watching a short video clip
Okay.
without subtitles,
Mm-hmm.
listening to an English podcast during your commute,
Yeah.
or even just reading a news article online.
Yeah, those are all great ideas.
They're small,
Little things.
that you can easily fit into your day,
Exactly.
but can make a big difference over time.
That's the key. Small, consistent actions.
Smart, consistent actions.
It's not about making huge changes all at once.
Yeah.
It's about weaving English into your daily life.
Yeah, just making it a natural part of your world.
Exactly. And the cool thing about this total immersion approach.
What is that? It's not just about, memorizing grammar rules
Right.
or vocab lists.
Yeah,
It's about absorbing the language organically,
I like that.
almost like osmosis.
Yeah, you start to develop a feel for the language,
You do?
an intuition for how it works.
Exactly. And that intuition,
Yeah,
that's what helps you unlock true fluency.
being able to communicate naturally
Freely.
without even thinking about it.
Effortlessly.
Yeah,
So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to start their English learning
I
adventure,
hope so.
remember, find your why.
Find your why.
Embrace those small daily actions.
Those little things every day.
Yes. And most importantly,
Hmm.
don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Because those mistakes, they're just proof that you're learning and growing.
Exactly. They are part of the journey.
By our.
Who knows, maybe in a week,
Yeah.
you'll surprise yourself with how much progress you've made.
This has been such a great deep dive.
It has.
Thanks for sharing your expertise with us
It's my pleasure.
and giving us so much to think about.
I hope so.
Until next time,
Until next time.
keep exploring, keep practicing, and keep those English conversations flowing.
Keep them going.
And to all of you listening out there, happy learning.